CP seminar, CA PT Joy sir from Ernakulam, Vice Chairman and Secretary CA Suprasad sir, immediate past Chairman CA Jayaprakash, Treasurer CA Dinesh K. Kumar, past Chairman and Managing Committee Member CA Saju, all the illustrious past Chairman of the Kannur branch, fellow members of the profession, friends, staffs and dear students. A very good afternoon to all of you. Today we are blessed with the presence of one of the senior members of the profession, past Chairman of Ernakulam branch, and a dedicated professional and a teacher who will present the topic, the new registration and compliance requirements of charitable institutions under the Income Tax Act. Dear Joy sir, on behalf of the Kannur branch of SARC of ICAI, I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And at the same time, I take this opportunity to thank you for accepting our invitation and for the support extended to the Kannur branch. Thank you, sir, and welcome you, sir. I also extend a very warm welcome to all the managing committee members, all the senior members of the profession, friends, staffs, and to my dear students. Members, please remember to fill and submit the Google form, which is already circulated in our WhatsApp group to get the mandatory CP credit. And a few programs which are on the way. One is the recent amendments in the Companies Act. The date will be announced soon. And on next 15th of May, there will be a joint seminar with the Kozhikode branch and Palakkad branch on the new networking guidelines and corporate form of practice by the Central Council member C.A. Dayaneva Sharma. And I also request the members who have not paid the IRS fee to kindly pay the same through online and kindly inform the branch. And now I request C.A. Dinesh K. Kumar, Treasurer of the branch, to formally introduce C.A. Joy sir to the participants. Dinesh sir, please.
Thank you. Respected Chairman of Kannur branch, ICACS Rajiv P.J., a very eminent faculty of today's session, C.A. P.T. Joy sir from Ernakulam, Vice Chairman and Secretary of Kannur branch, C.A. Shivaprasad sir, Managing Committee Member and past Chairman of Kannur branch, C.A. Jayaprakash, Sikasa Chairman and past Chairman C.A. Saju Sridhar, senior members from profession, my dear colleagues, students and staff. Today we are on 42nd virtual seminar of our branch. Registration and compliance requirements of NGOs under Ungenda SAS, and today's faculty is C.A. P.T. Joy sir from Ernakulam. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He qualified in the year 1999 and started practice in Cochin. He is a commerce graduate from MG University, Kerala, law graduate from Karnataka State Law University. He had been a faculty for direct taxes at the Ernakulam branch of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and other institutions for 15 years. He is the managing partner and founder of the firm CAPT Joy and Associates, a 21-year-old practicing chartered account firm based in Cochin, with expertise in corporate audits, taxation matters, and project consultancy. He has contributed articles on various matters in Hindu Daily, the New India Express, Malayalam News Dailies, ICA SARC newsletters, online news dailies, publication, and professional organization, published of the Kerala Chamber of Commerce and Industries, etc. He has been spoken in more than 525 seminars, meetings, discussion of professional bodies, FICCI, business schools, government departments, and live discussion of TV channels. He has been present papers on various technical subjects and tax matters in CP programs of ICAI and at some business schools for the last 21 years in various parts of India. He has been given training classes on taxation matters to government executives as part of Kerala government training program. He has been faculty of Kerala Industrial and Technical Consultancy Organization, TITCO, for their entrepreneurs training program and giving lectures. He is taking part of subject expertise in the lively union budget discussion and talk shows of the Manorama News Channel and the Madhurami News Channels. He is a member of TAE Kerala and has spoken in their meeting like SIG program of TAE. He has authored 2 books of which are published by the Messrs. Bharat Laos, New Delhi, namely Hans Book on TDS, published by 5 members 5 years back, for which presently 5th edition is running. Forward for the books is written by C.A. T.N. Manoharan, past president of ICAI. Guide to Provision of Benami Property Transaction Act 1988, published 2 years back, and for which is presently the second edition is running. Forward one books is written by the former judge of Supreme Court of Honorable Justice Kurian Joseph. He was the chairman of the Ernakulam branch of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the year 2018-19 and bagged the All India second best branch award of ICA for that year. Was instrumental and at the forefront during the Kerala flood of 2018 and doing massive flood relief activities of ICA Ernakulam branch and reached out many needy people at the time of the distress. He was offered a member of the Professional Development Committee of the Institute of Chartered of India, New Delhi, for the council year 2021-22. He also a qualified insolvency professionals with the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, IBBA. He has completed course on Introduction to Public Speaking from University of Washington, USA, and on Inspiring and Motivation Individuals from University of Michigan, USA. He is a part of the chartered organization which supplies 300 meals every day at the Government Medical College Hospital, Cochin. With these few words, introduction, I welcome today's faculty, CAPT Joyce from Ernakulam, for this seminar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dinesh sir, for the introduction. Thank you. And now, Joyce sir, kindly proceed for the presentation. Joyce sir, please.
Can I go for the screen sharing? If you can.
Yes, it's allowed, sir.
Can I go for the screen sharing? If you can.
Yes, it's allowed, sir. Please go.
I hope something appeared on the screen.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's my pleasure and privilege again back to Kannur, though virtually on a platform, and speaking to my own professional brothers and sisters of Kannur branch. And my advance thanks to Reggie, the vibrant chairman of Kannur branch, for making me to speak to you on a topic which is relevant at times. In fact, before starting with the actual topic, let me give you some background information with respect to why this provision it has been brought in. Now, we all know with respect to some of the charitable institutions, even once we look at the Kerala situation, some of the charitable institutions, many of them, see, maybe some of the charitable institutions, those who are constituted, maybe decades back, hundreds of years back, they have no constitution document. With respect to some of the institutions, maybe 5%, 10% of the organizations, they have no constitution document. In fact, they are constituted at some point of time, maybe this century or last century, some point of time they constituted, but they have no constitution document. They are registered under 12A or 1023C or 35(1). But they have no registration document even under the Income Tax Act. Department accepts them in the sense they have the registration number, but there is no registration document available. They don't know when they are registered. The department also does not know when the registration has been granted to them. Even with respect to ATG, some of the organizations, they have the ATG, let us say, order given by the department years back, but when it was first given, the department does not know. This organization also does not know when they have taken it. So there are a lot of issues. So from some quarters in our country, there was a suggestion to the CBDT that since these issues are persisting, these issues are real issues, are factual issues, there has to be a situation or there has to be a platform where all these issues are regularized. These issues are sorted out and they become regularized organizations. So some suggestion it has gone to the CBDT, the regulators. They accepted it. But as we all know, these regulators, many of the regulators, when we are making a suggestion, making a suggestion, maybe they will accept it, but when they issue the order, it will come with respect to, it will come along with some other conditions, which we never expected. While giving the representation, while giving the suggestions, while giving our thoughts to some regulators, no, we put it cogently, we say that, no, these are all the issues, and these are all the suggestions from our side for sorting out these issues. They may accept it. But once they accept it, many of the occasions, they will issue an order where the order will contain some conditions which we also never expected. And this happened with respect to the charitable institutions also. They accepted this suggestion from some of the quarters, very knowledgeable quarters, they suggested. And once they issued the order, they said, yes, we will regularize, we will give you an opportunity, we will give you a platform so that even if you comply with all the conditions, subject to which it is given, it has to be renewed. After a period of 5 years, it has to be renewed. Otherwise, you will lose the registration. Now, the issues, see, instead of saying 5 years, my opinion is they should have said with the minimum compliance, they should have said every year, because we may forget it. So, see, who remembers it? Every 5 years, who remembers it? Unless there is a mechanism or a methodology by which we keep it reminded, every 5 years or after every 5 years, somebody has to be reminded that this registration is going to be expired, it has to be renewed. So this is what some background information that why this new regime it has come. They introduce why they newly introduced this regime. This is said to be one story behind that. So coming to the topic. In fact, all registration procedure, it is contained under one section. This section is called section 12 AB. Let me repeat it. Section 12, capital letters ABB is the section under which everything that is contained. When I say section 12 AB simply says that this is what the new registration procedure, but for which they issued a circular on 26th March. 26th March, they issued a circular. In fact, the entire procedure for the re-registration or re-approval, let us call it as re-registration or re-approval. The entire procedure for re-registration or re-approval or new registration as per the new regime that is contained in the 26th March circular. We will come to that. So all the charitable institutions or trust or educational institutions presently availing exemption under these following sections. In fact, 12A is an existing section. We know 12A is a section under which the registration is granted. There was a section called 12AA. So what makes the difference between 12A and 12AA? 12A is the section under which the registration that is granted or the conditions for complying with the exemptions. 12AA was the procedure for getting the registration under the earlier regime. The procedure for getting the registration for under the earlier regime that was contained under 12AA. Now 12AA is removed with effect from 1st April 2021. 12AA is taken out. It is removed. There is no more 12AA under the new regime. It is taken out. Instead of that, they inserted section 12 capital letter AB. So 12AA has gone in place of that 12AB. It has come. So the other exemption is under section 1023C or the 80G donation for 35(1) also. Let me tell you, 35 subsection 1 also is also talking about some exemption being scientific research institution, etc., etc. So all the charitable institutions under any of these sections, all of these people, they will have to go for either re-registration or reapproval. In fact, under 12A, it is called a re-registration. 1023C and 35(1), it is called a reapproval. I will repeat. 12A, under the new regime, if you are going for registration, renewal of registration, it is called a re-registration. Under 1023C and 35 subsection 1, if you go for re-registration, it is not re-registration, they call it as reapproval. And when this is to be done, when this is applicable. In fact, this has come into 2020 budget. It is not the 21 budget product, it is a 20 budget product. It has come in 2020 budget, but due to the corona situation, that deferred it 2-3 times. So section 12AA, which prescribes the registration process for the registration of trust or institutions, that is going to be no more there. 12AA is going to be no more there, and a new section 12AB will come into force with effect from. So initially they said with effect from 1/6/2020, it is applicable. So within 3 months from 1/6/2020, say June, July, August, within 31st August 2020, you will have to go for the new registration. Then again, the corona issue, the COVID issue, that afforded to 1/10/2020, and ultimately it is afforded to 1/4/2021. That's what we are talking now, speaking now. From 1/4/2021, within 3 months, within 30th June 2021, we'll have to go for this regularization. That is running now. We don't know whether that will be again, that is going to be again deferred. We don't know. We are yet to wait and see. Now, what is to be discussed is this particular notification. I hope this is visible and clear to you.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
So the new registration procedure, the actual procedure, the documentation, the compliances, all that is explained in this notification. In fact, it is a 27 pages notification. 27, I remember it is, to the extent of my memory, it is 27 pages notification, where everything that is explained, even the forms are also contained in this notification. The new forms are also contained in this notification. How is to fill the forms, what all procedure should be done, or once you do it online, what all should be there with you, what all documents should be attached, what all compliances should be there. It's all explained in this notification. Notification number 19/21, dated 26th March 2021. In fact, though the section was proposed, the section was introduced, the procedure was not brought in. Ultimately, they brought it on 26th March 2021. The actual procedure, we were waiting for the notification for the actual procedure, which they have brought in on 26th March. Now, the appropriate authority for application. In fact, this is irrelevant because this is of no importance since we are applying online, because application can be submitted online. So whom we should apply, in fact, that does not assume any significance. So once it is an online application, to whom we should apply, but theoretically, it is either the principal commissioner or the commissioner exemptions. I don't know whether there is a commissioner exemption at Calicut, but the commissioner exemption for the Kannur region, Kannur area is also the Ernakulam commissioner. Any idea?
Yes.
I hope. Hello. Hello.
Sir, please, sir.
Hello, Raji. The commission exemption sitting at Ernakulam is a commission exemption for the entire state of
Yes.
Kerala.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Road can.
So our commission exemption, Jayashankar, is commission exemption here in Ernakulam is one. Jayashankar is a very knowledgeable person. So maybe he is having jurisdiction over the entire state of Kerala, or he can apply to the principal commission. Anyway, it is an online application. So forget about it, the what you call the jurisdiction and the appropriate authority for application. Forget about it. It is an online application. Now, what all should be done while you go for the application? What all should be done? In fact, we are going to discuss this notification. So, notification that assumes importance in the light of this section 12AB, because nothing is there in 12AB, everything that is contained in the notification, the 26th March notification. But some forms, basically, what is the form in which it is to be applied, etc. Now I have a table where it is contained in sum and substance. Let me explain to that, and then we will move on to the notification. So if you are a 12-year registered organizations, many of our clients, many of our parties, they are 12-year registered organization. So what is the form in which you will have to apply? It is an online form. So what is the form in which you will have to apply? The form in which you will have to apply if it is an existing organization. So the remarks column, if you can see, this is visible and clear to you, this particular table?
Yes, sir, visible, sir.
Okay. In case of application under subclause, in case of application under subclause 1 or subclause 6 of clause AC of subsection 1 of section 12A. Let me take section 12A, since there are students also amongst you. This is the new clause AC. I hope this PDF is visible to you.
No, sir, it's not visible.
PDF is not visible.
Yes, sir.
Till the PPT it appears.
Yes, PPT is visible.
Now it comes.
No, sir,
Till the PPT comes.
still PPT is showing. You can minimize the PPT and then open the file, sir.
The PPT. 1 second, 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Now a PDF sheet is appearing before you.
Yes, yes, yes.
This is section 12A, capital letter A. And under section 12, capital letter A, they have newly inserted a clause called clause AC. This is clause AC. Let me highlight this. This is clause AC. So this is a newly inserted clause AC. There was an earlier clause AC. Replacing that AC, a new one that is inserted. Where under the first clause, under AC, section 12A, I'm talking about, they say that where the trust or institution is registered under section 12A, it is already a registered organization under section 12A, as it stood immediately before its amendment, because it is an existing 12A registered organization. Now, they are saying that under clause, if it is an existing 12A registered organization, now I am coming back to this PowerPoint presentation. In form number 10A, you will have to apply in case application under subclause 1 or subclause 6 of clause AC of subsection 12A1. 12A1 we have seen. I will take it again. This is 12A subsection 1 clause AC. Let us say you are applying under subclause 1 where the trust or institution is already registered under section 12A, or you are applying under clause 6 in any other case. In the sense, you are already a registered organization under section 12A and you will have to apply in form number 10A. PPT is visible?
No, sir.
PPT is not visible. Now the PPT appears or this one appears?
No, sir. PPT is not appeared.
We can see PDF. PDF we can see.
PDF only you can see. One second, one second. So Tolway says that Tolway subsection 1 clause AC, there are 6 subclauses. If you are applying under subclause 1 or subclause 6, you will have to apply in form number 10A. Now don't get confused. I will tell you what it is very simply. If you are an existing 12-way registered organization, that is subclause 1, where the trust or institution is already registered under 12-way. So you apply in form number 10A. Something is visible to you?
Yes,
Where
sir,
you are in?
yes, another PDF file is visible. Sir.
Okay, so if you are an existing registered organization, the concerned rules, it is rule 17A. Forget about the rules, you don't have to remember it. But remember the form. If you are an existing registered organization, existing 12-way registered organization, now apply in form number 10A. And your certificate of registration will be issued by the department in form number 10AC. So the application in form number 10A, you don't have to be worried about this 10AC. Now they will do it their part, but the form it is form number 10AC. To this extent, if you understood, then we will move on to the next clause. So existing 12-way registered organization, 10A, form in which you will have to apply 10A. Certificate form in which the certificate is issued, it will be form number 10AC. And the last clause of 12A, this particular clause AC, it says that in any other case. So the first clause we have seen, last clause any other case. Any other case is, let us say now we are constituting a new charitable institution. We are getting a registration, we are going to the sub-registrar or we are going to the district registrar or whatever it is. We are registering an organization, we are applying afresh for a new organization. We are applying afresh for a new organization. So here and after, first we will get only a provisional registration. So we have a new institution constituted, we are applying for a provisional registration. That also has to be in form number 10A. I hope you are clear. And in all other cases, say in the sense, the second case where the trust or institution, this one I am talking about. The trust or institution is registered under section 12AB and the period of said registration is due to expire at least 6 months prior to the expiry of the said period. Though this is nothing, let us say in the new regime, I told you there is no permanent registration. The new registration, once you get, it is valid only for a period of 5 years. Now, once the 5 years period expires, at least 6 months prior to the expiry of the 5 years period, you will have to apply for again re-registration. That has to be in form number 10AB. So once you get registration under the new regime, now under the new regime, again, if you are applying for, let us say, renewal of the registration after a period of 5 years, before 6 months before the expiry of that 5 years period, you will have to apply. That should be in form number 10AB. Or under the new registration regime, you will get only a provisional registration first. Once you apply afresh, now you are moving an application for 12A, let us say, or under 12AB, you are applying for a new registration, a fresh application you are putting up. Now that is in form number 10A. Once you get the registration, once you apply in form number 10A, and once you get the registration, it is only a provisional registration initially they will give you. Provisional registration is valid for a maximum of 3 years. So in the case of provisionally registered applicants, they will have to go for permanent registration. So once you get a provisional registration, and when you go for the permanent registration, after the provisional registration, that should be in form number 10AB, form number 10AB. So this PDF So in case you are applying, once you get provisional registration, you are applying for permanent registration form number 10AB. Or you get permanent registration, after 5 years, you are going for renewal of this 5-year registration, permanent registration, that also should be in form number 10AB. I hope this is understood. Any questions so far? Now we are coming back to the notification. I hope the notification is visible to you. This is a notification.
Yes, yes.
Notification is visible.
Yes, sir.
The presentation is just like the movie Madhulugal, where I don't see the people on the other side. You give some response in between so that we get connected. This is a notification. So the notification is divided into various parts. It is running, starting with the procedure for application or renewal under 1023C organizations. 1023C organization, application for the purpose of grant of approval of a fund or trust or institution or university or any hospital or other medical institution under clause 1 or clause 2 or clause 3 or clause 4 of first proviso to section 1023C. So if you are applying under 1023C, let us say you are already registered under 1023C, you have the exemption from the income tax department. You are granted with the 1023C exemption, and you are applying for renewal of the registration. Under 1023C, it is called a reapproval. Whatever it is, either re-registration or reapproval, maybe procedure more or less the same. So if we get maybe getting changed between reapproval or re-registration, whatever it is, reapproval under section 1023C. So if it is a 1023C organization and you are going for application of renewal of 1023C registration, again in form number 10A. Let me show that like this. 1023C. So 1023C, I hope this table is visible. Raji, the table is visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir. Visible.
So 1023C, if you are a 1023C registered organization, you are applying for renewal of the registration, reapproval of the registration, 1023C, you apply in form number 10A again. It is renewal of the existing registration under 1023C. So you apply in form number 10A. Again, certificate will be issued in form number 10AC by the department. And in other cases under section 1023C, we will go to 1023C since there are students for amendment under 1023C in the 2020 Finance Act. There is some amendment under 1023C. Now the following first and second provisos shall be substituted for the first and second provisos of 1023 by the Taxation and Other Laws, Relaxation and Amendment of Provisions Act 2020, etc., whatever. So this is 1023C. Understand, at least this is 1023C. There is some amendment. There are 4 clauses under 1023C. There are 4 clauses. The first clause says that if you understood under the earlier situation of 12A, now here also more or less same, where such a fund or trust or institution or university or other educational institution or a hospital or other medical institution is already approved. Is already approved under the second proviso as it stood before the amendment, etc. Say it is an already 1023C registered organization and you are going for reapproval, then you will have to apply in form number 10A. So In case of an application, this is what? It is only for your academic interest. I have shown that video. In case of application under clause 1 or clause 4 of first proviso. So clause 1 is already registered 1023C organization, existing 1023C registered organization. Clause 1 will have to apply in form number 10A. Or under clause 4. Clause 4 is this one. Clause 4 is in any other case. Any other case is nothing. Let us say you are a new organization now, new charitable institution now, new entity now. You are applying afresh for a provisional registration again in form number 10. Now the other two categories, say second and third category. Second category, where such fund, trust or institution or university or other educational institution or hospital or other medical institution is approved and the period of such approval is due to expire at least 6 months before the expiry of the set period. Let us say you are applying under the new regime. Initially, you are getting a provisional registration. Then you are moving for a permanent application. You get a permanent application. Or now any 1023C organization, existing organization, we are applying for renewal of the registration. Now we get the registration renewed. So after 5 years, it has to be renewed. So after 5 years, if you are going for renewal of the permanent registration, then that's what the second clause they are talking about. It should be in number 10. AB. Third is where provisionally approved, at least. So once you get a provisional registration, same, once you get a provisional registration, if you are applying for a provisional registration, form number 10A. Once you get a provisional registration and applying for a permanent registration, it should be in form number 10AB. I hope it is clear to you. If you are applying under clause 1 or clause 4, form number 10A, and certificate in form number 10AC. If you are applying under second and third clause, it is nothing. After provisional registration, you are applying for permanent registration, 10AB. Or once you get a permanent registration, you are applying for renewal of the permanent registration after 5 years, 6 months before the expiry of that 5 years period. If you apply, it should be in form number 10AB. We will come back to the notification. So this is what the first stage they are talking about. If you are an existing 1023C registered organization, and if you are applying under the 4 clauses, it is nothing. Existing, form number 10A, applying afresh, form number 10A, certificate in form number 10AC, and provisionally registered already, applying for permanent registration, 10AB, or once you get a permanent registration, applying for renewal of that permanent registration, form number 10AB, and certificate in form number 10AD. 10AB, certificate in form number 10AD. Any questions so far? Any questions?
So can we say that all the application for the existing as well as the new applicants in 10A?
Existing
Can we say that?
1023C, existing.
Not only for 23C, 12A also, 10A application for the first time. And for renewal and changing from temporary to permanent, 10AB. Is it right?
Only 2 scenarios. It should be in form number 10A. Only 2 scenarios. One, the existing registered organization under 12A and 1023C. 12A and 1023C, existing 12A registered or 1023C registered organizations. Once you go for regularization of that registration under the new regime, form number 10A. And or if you are applying afresh, you are constituting an organization now, you are applying afresh for a provisional registration, that also in form number 10A. All other cases, 10AB.
Right.
Sir, what is the significance of provisional registration? Why we require it?
Provisional registration, they say that now here and after, there will not be any permanent registration altogether. First, we will give you only a provisional registration. In the sense, what we understand it is, the rules and procedure, it has only come, but what we understand it is, now out of interactions and input, what we understand it is, maybe for provisional registration, they will ask you only minimum documents. Permanent registration will be granted only after inquiry and, let us say, investigation. The track record of the people, the genuineness of the documents are submitted, the genuineness of the activity is conducted, maybe the track record of the organization, all these things may be inquired into. This is what we understand.
Sir, again,
Is there a-
for the next renewal, the time
Okay.
limit is 4.5 years, right? 4.5 years from now.
It is not 4.5 years. They say that from the date of registration, you will get to 5 years. 6
Yeah,
months.
six months earlier we have to apply.
6 months before the 6 months before the expiry. Within 6
That
months
means
before
4.5
the
years.
expiry. Within 6 months before the expiry. Within 6 months before the expiry means, see, you can start doing it. You can start doing it at the point of 6 months where it starts. Does not mean that there has to be 6 months. That's what I understand. Within 6
No, sir.
months.
No, sir. I will tell you. Suppose you apply after 4.5 years, that will be outrightly rejected, and you won't get condemnation also. That's what they do. Say you apply that 4 years.
Within 6 months. They say that within 6 months. No. Let us say no. We'll go to that.
I don't understand that. Say within 6 months means earlier to 6 months of expiry. That's what they
Exactly.
interpret.
So
Normally,
what,
they,
what I understand. Let me take that particular provision.
okay, sir. Okay, sir. Please.
It is elsewhere. No, it will be coming elsewhere. But what I understood, I will explain to you. My answer to your question, I will tell you. Let it come at the point of time. I am not able to locate it where it is. Somewhere it is there. During a presentation, we will see. But my understanding it is my understanding is they are starting by saying that within 6 months before the expiry of 5 years period. Let us say we are getting the registration on 1st April 2021. Presume, for the sake of understanding, presume that we are getting the registration on 1st April 2021. So this permanent registration, let us say we are talking about the permanent registration. This 1/4/2021 registration is valid for a period of 5 years, say 2026. Am I right?
Right.
Up to 31/3/2026, it is valid. They
Okay.
say that within 6 months before the they don't say that before. They say that within 6 months before the expiry of the permanent registration. So for renewing the registration, you have 6 months starting from 1st October 2025, or starting from 1st October 2025 to 31/3/2026. Within that 6 months period, you will have to renew.
Okay, sir. I will come to you. See, I have 2 cases lying in High Court. I am the aggrieved party in both the cases. One is under revenue law.
See, we are talking about the new regime. We are talking about the new regime.
No. I am talking about some other law. Under revenue law, similar clause was there. Within 6 months of expiry, you have to apply for renewal. And I had applied after commencement of 6 months, say, as you told, after 1st of October. And it was rejected, and it is lying in High Court at to be decided. More than 5 years it is pending. Another one is under FCRA renewal. I missed the date. It's also 6 months earlier to the expiry. There also they have rejected. It is lying in High Court. I may get it or I may not get it. So here also the wordings are almost the same. So to be safer, you apply before 1st of October.
No. My point is,
Okay.
what you are talking it is purely an interpretation of the statute. Purely an interpretation of the statute issue. So if it is a question of law and interpretation of the statute, it clearly says within 6 months. It starts with the saying that within 6 months before the expiry of the 5 years period. Instead of within 6 months, if they say that before 6 months, let us say, you will have to apply before 6 months. Before 6 months. See, you have a 5 years period. 6 months before the expiry, if they start saying that, then what you said is correct. Could have been correct. Otherwise, let us say if that is the case, I can put it like this also. Maybe once I get the registration, after 1 year period, I can apply. Am I right? Am I
I
right?
mean that.
No, no.
I mean, sir, I mean that.
No,
I
no,
want
no. No, no, it's only for the,
Yeah.
it is only for the sake of understanding. Let us say, let
Okay,
me
sir.
put
I
it
leave
like
it to
this. Let me put it like this. Maybe presume that this is a court argument. This is your argument. Now the counterpart argument, it goes like this. Now you say that, let us say, clear there has to be 6 months before you apply, or once you apply, from the date of application to expire that 5 years period, clearly there should be 6 months. Is it not? Is it not? Or in the
Okay, sir.
practical case,
I leave it to you. I leave it to you. I mean, High Court already in 2 cases. Similar
Yeah, yeah.
wording.
yeah, I
Pakka
understand.
similar wording. Yeah.
If I have been appointed as the advocate for the appellant, I will argue like this. Let us say, in this case, what you
I
mean to
agree.
say is there has to be clearly 6 months now before you apply. There has to be clearly 6 months. Or by keeping 6 months, so indirectly you get only 4.5 years. Indirectly,
Yes, sir.
you get only 4.5 years. The intention of the law is not that. So you have 5 years period, and we will give you, let us say, 6 months for renewal. Within 6 months, in the last leg of that year, let us say in the 5th year, once you have 6 months, you have 6 months period. You have a bracket of 6 months for applying for renewal or re-registration, whatever it is. Otherwise,
Okay.
if that should have been the case, if that should have been the intention, you can start applying on the second day also. Once you get registration today, you can start applying tomorrow also.
That is my submission. That is my submission.
That should not be. That seems to be illogical. No, the other party's argument seems to be, if it is department, if that DR, no, we call it as a DR, department representative. If that is the other side, if DR is arguing like this, then seems to be illogical.
But suppose you apply on the 11th hour, on 30th March 2026, you apply for renewal. Department is not finding time for passing an order.
This is online application. No, so long as it is within that time and minute or hour, whatever it is, no, it should be accepted.
Okay.
And that is what
I
is
leave it to
happening.
you. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. Next issue. I leave it to you. Okay.
Because that is what is happening with respect to everything. The return of income we file even on, let us say 11 hours, 55 minutes, we file it. Okay, we will come to the continuing part of this notification. So I hope this notification is appearing before you.
Sir, is there any time limit for converting the provisional registration to permanent one?
Provisional registration is valid for a period of 3 years initially. Now, 3 years initially, but you will have to renew the provisional registration 6 months before the expiry of the provisional registration, or within 6 months of starting the charitable activity, whichever is earlier. Provisional registration is valid for a 3 years period. You will have to apply for permanent registration 6 months, let us say within 6 months, or within 6 months of starting the charitable activity, whichever is earlier. Suppose you start the activity, you register the organization, you apply for provisional registration, you get the registration now. Let us say today is 6th May, you are applying for a provisional registration. Let us say in June, you are getting the provisional registration. But in September, you are starting the activity, the charitable activities, you are starting in September. So once you start the charitable activities, within 6 months, you will have to apply for permanent registration.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Now the question that arises, it is now what all documents should be submitted along with the form number 10I. Now to avoid your monotony or to wake your anxiety, I will show you form number 10I. This is form number 10A. Visible? Form number 10A is visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, visible.
This is form number 10A, the renewal of the existing registration or the applying afresh for a provisional registration. So the instruction seems to be pretty very helpful. This instruction with respect to filling of form number 10A, instruction is given at the end of form number 10A. There are some 21 points in form number 10A. We will discuss the points one by one. Instructions to fill form number 10A. That seems to be very helpful as far as I have completed one form number 10A. Instruction seems to be very, very helpful. It is illustrative and self-driven. So form number 10A, they're asking what is the PAN number of the applicant. Then section code. What is the section code? Section code, it is given in the instruction. What is the section code? Number 2 we were talking about. Under which section you are applying? If it is a renewal of the existing section, or it is a renewal of the donation, or it is ATG, or if it is under 1023C, the concerned section you will have to select. There is, and if you fill it online, the selection it is dropped out, row number 2. So you put the section code, then come to the other part. Let us say nature of activity, charitable, religious come charitable, type of the constitution, whether the applicant is established under an instrument, date of incorporation, creation, registration or incorporation number. Now, authority granting registration or incorporation. Here the authority granting registration or incorporation means if you are registering it as a trust, then the registrar, the sub-registrar is the authority. The registration authorities will be the authority. It's all given in the and what all documents should be? I'm talking about the documents to be attached as per the circular along with the application under form number 10A. Now, application under etc., either in form number 10A or 10B, as the case may be, the following documents should be submitted. The following documents should be submitted. Now, where the applicant is created or established under an instrument, self-certified copy of such instrument creating or establishing the applicant. You don't find any difficulty. If it is a trust, let us say the trust deed. If it is a society, the memorandum and bylaws, whatever it is, accordingly, the constitution document, copy of the constitution document should be attached. Second, point number B is very, very important, where the applicant is created or established other than under an instrument or self-certified copy of the document evidencing the creation or establishment of the applicant. This needs some explanation. Some of the organizations, they are incorporated by word of mouth. Let us say there is an organization, there is a religious organization constituted some 90 years back, 90. There is no constitution document, but there is an entity. There is a charitable institution, there is a religious entity. Now that is functioning, it has got activities, it has got a 12 registration, but there is no constitution document available. Now, where is to get the constitution document? Now, no constitution document is available with, let us say, it is constituted as a trust with the trust authorities or the trust registration authorities also, there is no document available. What to do? They say that where the applicant is created or applicant. Let us say in the case of a religious trust, those days, let us say in 1950s, it was created. Those days in 1950, a letter is available issued by the superior authorities of the temple to the lower authority to constitute a trust. A letter from the higher authority, superior authority, that is, I'm talking about temple authorities or maybe trust authorities. From the superior authorities of the diocese, a letter to the church authorities, it is available, dated some date of 1940 or 1950. Then certified, self-certified copy of that document, which will evidence, which will substantiate the existence of this particular organization. Or no constitution document is available. Let us say it is registered under some local laws. Let us say it is registered under the local authorities, so that you are paying, let us say, the building tax. That will be sufficient. You are paying, let us say, ESI or PF or whatever it is, or you are registered under some other authority under the government, which proves that you are an existing organization. Now that document will suffice the requirement. That is point number B. It is very, very important. Or if nothing is available, this is only a personal opinion of mine. It is should not be taken as the formal one. If nothing is available, my personal opinion it is to stand before the law, even a self-attested or a notarized copy of the affidavit will also suffice the requirement. Notarized copy of self-declaration. You get it notarized in a stamp paper, then put up along with the other documents. They cannot deny it on the face of it. Certified copy of the register of companies, if it is, let us say, section 25 company, the earlier regime 1956 regime, or under the 2013 Companies Act, now we have section 8 companies constituted for charitable activities. If it is section 25 company or section 8 company, then memorandum, the constitution document issued from the register of firms or register of societies or register of companies they are talking about. Self-certified copy of the registration under FCRA. If you have FCRA registration, if you are an FCRA registered organization, FCRA registration copy. Now self-certified copy of the existing order granting approval under 1023C. Existing registered organization 1023C registration certificate copy. Self-certified copy of the order of rejection. You applied earlier but rejected. Then copy of the rejection order. Where the applicant has been in existence during any year prior to, say you were in existence, you were running for some number of years. If it is more than 3 years, 3 years of financial statements. If it is less than 3 years, those number of years of financial statements should be attached along with the 10A application. Where the business undertaking is held by the applicant as per the provisions of subsection 4 of 11, and the applicant has been in existence during any year or years. Let us say you are running some incidental activity. From incidental activity, you have some income. Let us say a trust or temple running some activity, let us say renting out of shops, Now this renting out of shops by the trust, they are generating some income. If they have income, let us say the annual accounts of such activity should be attached. And if that trust or institution, this organization, this NPO is running altogether a business activity, altogether separate business activity, nothing is related to this. It is not incidental and ancillary, but pakka business activity it is running. Then that income is taxable, and if that is subject to audit, let us say the audited accounts. The notes on the activities of the applicant. All these 10 documents should be there once you apply for form number 1, once you apply in form number 10A. Now we will come to form number 10A. Form number 10. If you are at point number 4D, then objects of the applicant. whether the trust deed contains clause that the trust is irrevocable. No, always the trust should be irrevocable, because there cannot be a trust which is revocable. Once you say that it is revocable under the income tax provisions, if it is a revocable transfer, let us say in the case of a transfer, if it is a revocable transfer, in the case of a revocable transfer, the income from the transferred asset that is taxable in the hands of the transfer, not the transferee. Let us say there is a settler and there is a trustee. So the settler is transferring some asset, some money to the trustee for the trust purposes. So if it is revocable one, the income from the trust property is taxable in the hands of the transferor, being the settler. So whether the trust deed contains clause that the trust is irrevocable, normally it should be irrevocable trust. In the trust deed, we always put it a point that the trust is irrevocable, that cannot be taken back. Whether the applicant is registered on Darpan portal, this Darpan, it comes under the Niti Aayog. You can register as a non-governmental organization under the Niti Aayog. It's called Darpan registration. If you have Darpan registration or FCRA registration, then those details, whether it is yes or no registered, then relevant law, registration number, date of registration, etc., etc. Authority granting registration. For all these, you don't have to be worried. The instruction is available. You will go to the instruction part. They say that this is the code number to be selected based on the section under which you are applying. Then application for intimation of the fifth proviso, section 35, subsection 1. This is the code to be selected. Then objects of the applicant in row number 5. Row number 5 is objects of the applicant. Under objects of the applicant, this is to be selected. Objects of the applicant. This is objects of the applicant. Now, religious, relief of the poor, education, medical relief, yoga, preservation of environment, etc., etc. This is to be selected. Seems to be not much confusing. There won't be any difficulty in filling form number 10. Whether claiming exemption under section 1021 of the Income Tax Act, yes or no. Then details of the authors, this is important. Now point number 9A is important. Details of the author, founder, settler, trustee, members of the society, members of the governing council, or a director or shareholding, holding 5% or more of the shareholding or office bearers asked on the it is to be given. So these details, serial number first, the name of that person, relation is explained. This is relation. For row number 9A column, one or more of the following shall be selected. Author, founder, settler, in what status you are associated with that organization. Now, point number 9B. 9B is very, very important. In case of any persons, as mentioned in row number 9A. 9A is, let us say, if you are an associated person, if you are a stakeholder and your stake that exceeds 5% or above, then those details should be given. In that case, in case of any persons, as mentioned above, is not an individual, then provide the following details of the natural persons who are beneficial owners. 5% or more of such persons as on the date of application. Let us say one trustee is a partnership firm. Presume, for the sake of understanding, one trustee is a partnership firm where they have an interest of, they have a stake of 10%. So in a trustee is a partnership firm, and that partnership firm has got a stake of 10% or 20%, whatever it is. If that be the case, in point number 9B, you will have to give details of the partners who are holding 5% or more of the partnership's firm's stake. In that particular partnership, who are all holding 5% or more of the stake, those details should be given because that a partnership firm is holding 5% more of stake of this particular trust. This is to be given. This is very important. Has the return of income been filed for the assessment year for which the due date has expired? Now, this is very, very important. Now, point number 10 is very, very important. And if you want, I can show you an. You want an online form number 10? Hello, Raji.
Sir, tell me, sir.
If you want an online form number 10, I can show you.
Okay. If time permits, no problem. Please, sir.
Without taking much time. Visible, the e-filing site is visible.
No, sir. Still the PDF form is visible.
PDF is appearing.
Yes.
Income tax site is visible.
No, sir. It is still the PDF form is same.
Site is visible.
Yes, sir. Now it's visible.
Okay. Let me do it fast. Let's go to e-file, income tax forms. The income tax forms, you select form number 10A. Now submission mode, only this one is available, online mode, then original, continue. This one existing one which we have prepared already. This is visible, form number 10A is visible.
Yes, sir.
So if once you go ahead with the form number 10A, you will see that this is an existing organization under TOLE. It is already TOLE registered organization. Once you come down and you say that whether the applicant is registered, etc., then details of the trustees, etc., then details of assets and liabilities. Once you say that it has the return of income, talking about the 10th point, which we were discussing there, the 10th point has the return of income being filed for the last assessment year for which the date is already expired. Once you say yes, these field will be, all these columns will be inactive. Why it is? Because already they have the figures, they have the details. If you say no, you'll have to fill in these details, these asset liability details. I hope it is clear to you.
Yes, sir.
So existing organization, if you say that the latest income tax return has been filed for which the time it is expired, now recently that time has been extended up to 31st of May, but let us say time has been expired. Time has been expired if you say that, and you have already filed the latest return, then these columns will be inactive. It means that all these things, now we were at point number 10, then details in row number 11 to 9 are to be provided as on the date of application. See, mind you, details in row number 11 to 19 are to be given on the date of application. So your corpus amount, long-term liabilities, land and building, other fixed assets, other liabilities, funds or reserves, surplus other than corpus, etc. These details should be given. Investment and deposits made into one or more of the forms or modes specified in subsection 5 of section 11, etc., etc. And ultimately there is a declaration. Instruction is very pretty good, seems to be very helpful, is very useful to us. Instruction, we don't find much difficulty in filling form number 10 because the instructions are that much helpful to us. Now form number 10A and 10AB, maybe some 5%, 10% differences, but except that 10A and 10AB are more or less the same. So once you apply with all these documents as given in the notification, they will issue a certificate in form number. If you are applying in form number 10A, they will issue a certificate in form number 10AC. And you will also be given a 16-digit alphanumeric unique registration number. They call it as URN. 16-digit alphanumeric registration number, unique registration number. Now these are the days of everything unique, unique documentation number, unique identification number. They call it as unique registration number. URN will be issued to the applicant. Then it can be either under EVC or under, let us say, digital signature. Now there is application under section 35 subsection 1. Either if you have any questions, you can ask me. Now application under section 35 subsection 1. Can I go ahead, or if you have any questions?
Sir, there's a one question there in the chat box, sir. Can you see it? Sir, one old temple registered under Societies Act.
Okay.
Can you see it, sir?
Can you read it?
Yes, sir. Old temple registered under the Societies Act having ATG registration.
Okay.
How the new regime of registration is applicable under the Income Tax Act?
Maybe they already have a 12A registration or a 1023C registration, I hope, because without that they may not get this ATG registration. So if they have this ATG registration, again they will have to apply. If it is an existing one, they will have to apply in form number 10A. We are coming to that.
Yes.
They will have to apply in form number 10A. We are coming to that. Any other questions?
No, sir, nothing.
And if you are applying under, now we have seen 12A registration, existing 12A, existing 1023C. Now same procedure, same forms applicable. So if you are a 35-1 organization, 35-1 organizations are nothing, let us say this scientific research association, institution, etc. If you are form number 3CF. Application should be in form number 3CF. If you can see this table, if you are a 35-1 organization, if it is 35-1 organization, now application should be in form number 3CF. 3CF is more or less just like a form number 10A, but in the case of 35 subsection 1 organizations, the 10A application is very limited, is very concise. The more details are there in form number 3CF. I will show you what is form number 3CF. So application should be in form number 3CF and intimation should be there in form number 10A. This is what in the case of 35 subsection 1 organizations. The other formalities are all, it's the same. Then coming to ATG organizations. ATG organization, this is what you asked me. In the case of an organization, they have an existing registration. Maybe they are at a 12A registered organization, or they are at 1023C or 35-1 organization, whatever it is, but they have ATG. If they have ATG, then existing ATG people, they will have to apply in form number 10A. This is form number 10A, they will have to apply. And just like the other organizations, when 10AB is applicable, let us say you are applying afresh in form number 10A, or existing organization applying in 10A, you get a permanent registration. If you get a permanent registration, for renewal of the permanent registration, you will have to apply in form number 10AB. Or you are you already applied for this ATG renewal, or you are applying afresh. Let us say you are applying afresh provisional registration. You are applying in form number 10A, but this provisional registration is to be renewed, for which you will have to apply in form number 10AB. Now documents that should be there.
Sir, still we are seeing the website scene.
Still you are seeing the website.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Seeing the notification now?
No, sir.
Still the website is appearing?
Yes.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the case of 35 subsection 1 organization, the application should be in form number 3CF. The application should be in form number 3CF, and the intimation should be in form number 10A. So 35 subsection 1 organizations only, there are two forms. One, it is 3CF application, and form number 10A intimation. So in those cases, it's called 10A intimation. In other cases, it's called the application. Now coming to I'm talking about where the applicant is created, established under an instrument, self-certified copy of that instrument. This one. Then where the applicant is created or established otherwise than under an instrument. Second point we have already discussed earlier. If there is no constitution document, let us say, to do the procedure as we discussed earlier. Now self-certified copy of the Registrar of Companies, section 25, section 8 companies. FCRA registration, if you have copy of that FCRA registration. Now self-certified copy of existing order granting registration under ATG, you will have to do. Now self-certified copy of rejection. If you have already applied under the earlier regime where it is rejected, copy of the rejection order. Where the applicant has been in existence during any year or years prior to the financial year in which the application for registration, you are in existence, let us say, copy of the financial statements. then not on the activities of the applicant. This is ATG. I'm talking about ATG. Now, when we are talking about ATG, let me tell you some 2-3 points attached to this under the new regime. Hereinafter, every year, in the case of a person who has got a ATG registration, and if he is receiving donations from outside, let us say he is receiving donations, after the end of the previous year in which he has received the donations, he has to file a statement with the income tax authorities. That statement is in form number 10BD. 10BD, form number 10BD should be filed yearly before 31st May after the end of the concerned financial year by the person who is holding form number, who is holding an ATG registration. Now let me show you this. Anyway, if you are holding ATG, once you receive donations, a statement of donations should be submitted with the income tax authorities after the end of the financial year before 31st May. That form is called form number 10BD. I will show you form number 10BD. A very short, concise form. This is form number 10BD. Statement of particulars to be filed by. Statement of particulars to be filed by reporting person under clause 8 of subsection 5 of ATG, etc., etc. If you are holding ATG certificate, if you have received donations during a year, then the statement of donations received should be submitted online after the end of the previous year before 31st May in this format. Now the intention is, once you give a donation, you are a donor. Once you give a donation to a recipient is this entity. They file the statement in form number 10BD so that it will be reflected in your form number 26AS. So it will be just like a TDS credit. You are giving a donation to approved organization. They are filing the statement of donations so that it will be reflected in your 26AS, and in due course it will be reflected in your return of income also. This is form number 10BD. This is going to be very, very important here and now. And there is another form called form number 10BE. This is form number 10BE. Form number 10BE is every recipient of donation has to issue a receipt to the donor in this form. So every organization who is holding ATG, now all of these people, they are issuing their own donations in their own receipts, in their own certificates, in their own format, they issue receipts. So here and after, whether they issue internally or not, that is irrelevant, but under the income tax provisions, they will have to issue a receipt in this format. Certificate of donation to be issued by this ATG, an organization holding ATG or 35 subsection 1A certificate. PAN of the reporting person, name of the reporting person, address of the reporting person, order number granting approval, etc., etc. It is very concise, very simple. There are only 12 points, very concise. I, son or daughter of, solemnly declare that to the best of my knowledge and belief, the information given, etc., etc., declaration part. So if you are holding ATG, unlike in the past, you have two more responsibilities. One, it is after the end of the financial year, you will have to file an online statement called the form number 10BD, where you will have to describe the donations received so that automatically it will be credited to the donors. Then, being a recipient, you will have to issue receipt to the donor in this format, form number 10BE. I hope it is understood.
Is it online, sir? The certificate, or we have to give in our own performer?
BD is online.
No, this one, receipt,
Only hard copy.
hard copy, no?
Hard copy.
Right.
Because if you want to give to every donor, you have a lot of donation. The donation amount will appear in your 26Is.
If it is given offline, how it will be reflected in the 26?
BD, I am talking about form number 10 BD.
Okay. What about the BE?
BE, it appears that because it says that this is the receipt to be issued to the donor by the organization. Receipt to be issued to the donor by the organization.
Okay.
It is a format of receipt, no? The donation receipt actually.
That's what we understand. That's what we understand. It has only come. No, these are all general doubts that we also arise. But putting, keeping all these things together, we understand that BE can be in hard copy format, but BD is online. It is for getting credit to the other person. So can I continue with the other part of the notification?
Yes, sir. Yes, President.
35. So documents to be attached once you analyze the list of documents. The only point where you get confused may be the second point with respect to all these sections. Because if there is no constitution document, what to do? If you have a constitution document, yes, fine. If you have no constitution document, what is to be done? That's what the second point, which I explained to the extent of my understanding. These are all expert opinions across India. You also interacted with many people. They said this is the procedure to be followed. And if it is an existing organization, either 12A or 1023C, once you fill in the online, which I have shown you, if you fill in the online 10A, then no documents are to be attached. No documents are to be attached because online, we come to understand that if it is existing 12A organization, only the fields to be filled, there are no attachments required because it's only automatic. In the case of existing 12A, existing 1023C, etc., it's all automatic. Existing ATG, etc., it's all automatic. Once you have existing compliance, automatically it will be issued. So this is the part where they are talking about the form number 10 BD in the circular. Statement of particulars are required to be furnished by any research association, university, college, or other institution or company or fund, etc., shall be furnished in respect of each financial year, beginning with the financial year 21-22 in form number 10 BD and shall be verified in the manner indicated therein. So 10 BD is to be filed every year before 31st May, starting from financial year 21-22. This is the question that you asked. What about the form number 10 BD? 10 BD is to be filed electronically. One of the members, they asked, how is to file 10 BD? 10 BD is electronically. Are there any questions to be asked? There are some questions in the chat box. All the temple registered under Societies Act having ATG registration, how the new regime of registration is applicable? You will have to apply in form number 10A. As of now, before 30th June, existing. Do we have to fill point number 10 and 11, etc., details of assets and liabilities? That's what I told you. If you are an existing organization and the latest return is filed and you say of all the members or trustees. Only the columns asked for. Only the columns asked for. They are asking about, let us say, name, the percentage of stake in the organization, then ID number, PAN number, etc., etc. Only the asked for columns. Will a religious institution get? Yes, religious institution will get ATG. Since the last date of filing of ITR for assessment year 2021 stands now extended to 31st May 2021. Do we enter assessment year 2021 or assessment year 1920? See, this is $1 million question. In fact, the extension, it has come only some number of days back, maybe in the 30th or 1st May it has come. We have not thought of that, but they are asking, have you filed the latest return of income for which the time limit for filing the return it expired? So there they are talking about, maybe my understanding it is time limit for filing the return, maybe the 139 subsection 1 time limit they are intending, not the billed return time limit. Once you say that, the assets and liabilities details are need not, but if you have not filed, let us say if you have not filed, then you will have to file, you will have to give the details of assets and liabilities. Any other questions?
Sir, so far there is no other questions in the chat box.
And let me ask you one question. I thought somebody will ask me about anonymous donations. It's a very, very important point. What about anonymous donations? Anonymous donations in the case of all these organizations, except the religious trust, anonymous donations are taxable if that exceeds either 1 lakh rupees or 5% of the total donations, whichever is less. 1 lakh rupees or 5% of the gross donations, whichever is less. Exceeding that, the anonymous donations are taxable, except for religious trust. Except for religious trust. Now, I will tell you a practical situation. Let us say in the case of Guruvayur temple, maybe it is a trust. Presume that. I don't know what about it is, but still presume that it is a trust. Now, the yearly amount that is collected, maybe 10 rupee, 100 rupee, put together 25 crore. You don't know who deposited that amount, who donated that amount, who dropped that amount, you don't know. It is anonymous donation. As far as God it is concerned, he only knows who deposited. Church, maybe a place like Velangani or maybe a places of that level, where the anonymous donations, maybe you don't know who the depository it is, that amount put together, it comes to, let us say, 25 crores yearly. So that is not taxable in the case of religious trust. Religious trust, there is an exemption. Anonymous donation, this 5% or 1 lakh rupees, whichever is less, that criteria is not at all applicable in the case of religious trust. Religious trust, that concession, it is governed by the regulatory authorities, by the government. In the case of religious trust, there can be any amount of anonymous donations. And the presumption it is that maybe all the religious trust, they will properly account for all these anonymous donations. So anonymous donation, it is that criteria is not at all applicable in the case of religious trust. Are there any questions?
Sir, you say it is permanent registration, and all of a sudden if new act comes, you have to renew it or you have to apply again and again every 5 years and all. Is it fair and proper? Under law, is it fair and proper?
I can only tell you an opinion. We cannot criticize the law, but we can only express our opinion. Now, what they intended it is, because there is a general opinion even amongst the regulators that some of the charitable institutions, they are not functioning well. Either they are created for the benefit of some of the people, or for the sake of showing, let us say they are doing percentage, 2%, 3%, whatever people, they are not a disciplined people. And they should have thought that once we give permanent registration, these people, they are not disciplined, they are functioning according to their will and pleasure because we give permanent registrations. Because hereinafter, they get an opportunity so that they will look into or scrutinize, or you will be under their radar at least once in every 5 years. Seems to be little difficult, but in countries outside India, let us say in countries outside India, what happens is, if they give exemption for income, then provisions are very stringent. If you take developed countries where they give exemption for your income with respect to any organization, philanthropic, charitable, or not-for-profit organizations, if they give exemption, then the regulators are very, very stringent. In that respect, maybe cannot be said to be too rigid, but we should accept it.
Sir, in the assessment proceedings, if a small penalty is imposed, whether registration will go, it's a violation of law. Okay. Suppose I accept some anonymous donation, or suppose I pay some 20,000 rupees by cash,
Okay.
my registration will go. Is it correct?
No, simply imposing the penalty will not take away your registration. They have only imposed some penalty, is it not? The registration is not cancelled. Am I right? Your registration is intact, but the only thing is they have imposed some penalty.
Okay, penalty is for violation of law.
Penalty is for violation of some conditions. Penalty is for violation of some conditions or some provisions of the income tax law. But your registration, they have not issued you a show cause notice for cancellation of the registration, or your registration is not cancelled. If at all it is cancelled, now you are talking about only a penalty. If penalty is imposed but your registration is intact, you can go for renewal of the registration. But mind you, if there is an order for cancelling your registration, and if you have not gone for appeal, time limit for the appeal that is expired, then you are put in danger. Even if it is cancelled, but you have gone for appeal, yes, you are fine. Or the time limit for filing the appeal that is not expired, then still you are safe and secure. But if time limit for filing the appeal, it is expired, you have not filed the appeal, then you are at risk.
There is one more question there in the chat box, sir.
Mandatory attachments to form number 10A includes a certificate of registration of trust. In Kerala, SRO does not issue any such. See,
Second page of trust is sufficient, right?
if you go to the sub-registrar, they will issue, is it not, the registration? Or the document itself will be sufficient. No, if that is endorsed by registration, is endorsed by the sub-registrar, that will be sufficient.
Yes.
The second page will be sufficient, sir, because the number is there in the second page.
It is sufficient. If you are able to substantiate that, maybe they will ask for a clarification. But if you are able to explain that, no, this is what, maybe there has to be a document evidencing your registration. Any other questions? The crucial question you have not asked me. There is no form number 10AB in the website. If you go to Income Tax India e-filing, as of now, there is no form number 10AB appearing. Only 10A is appearing. So 10A is for regularization of the existing registration, re-registration, re-approval. Or if you want to apply afresh, you can use form number 10A. But in other cases where provisional registration, where people going for permanent registration, or permanent registration people again going for renewal of the permanent registration, those things should be in form number 10AB. 10AB is not there in the list of forms. If you take 10AB is not there. Any other question? Don't wait till the last minute, because we are already there in May. Now they are saying that only up to June. Don't be under the impression that they will extend it. If they are extending it, let us say fine. we will enjoy it, but don't wait till 30th June for doing this regularization.
Yes.
You
So I think there is no other queries or any.
One second, Chairman.
Please.
One more query, sir. You said that we have to apply within 6 months. If we were not able to apply within 6 months, that is suppose you are in your case, 31st March 2026 is over. Then what is the remedy? Is there any continuation provision available?
now in the notification, nothing is there. No, this being a new provision and there are no precedents. There is no precedence. We don't know what to do, because if there is a reported case or if there is an issue like this or there is a legal precedence, we can say something. But mind you that if you go to the court of law, then the question what it comes before you, are there any reasons or were there any reasons for not doing this? If you are approaching a court of law and you say that you were under genuine situations where those situations prevented you in doing the renewal of the registration, there is sufficient reason, let us say medical grounds, whatever it is. If you are able to substantiate that, then court will tell you that this person, please consider maybe considering the application of this person for renewal or reapproval. This can be there because the principles of natural justice, it is a constitutional right. It is a string, it goes through every statute. So it will arise. If it is a principles of natural justice, so there are sufficient reasons which prevented you in doing this renewal of the registration, you can go ahead. But otherwise, simply condonation, I don't know. We are yet to see. There is no option to upload notes on activities in form number 10. Sir, you are talking about in the case of an existing organization or applying afresh?
Right.
Yeah, existing registration, sir.
Existing registration, this is not to be attached, sir, because we are also doing existing application registration. What I have shown you, it is form number 10A for existing one. Existing one, only the details will be sufficient because they say that it is automatic.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Just, somebody has put the alarm also, maybe to close the program. Now, another point is what makes the difference between 1023C and these 12 registered organizations. Now, here and after, now they say that now there are certain organizations are holding both the 1023C and 12A. Important. In the case of a 12A organization, now you are following the accrual system of accounting. Now some income is not physically received. Let us say interest income. It is only accrued. It is not received from the bank. Maybe it is a interest on a fixed deposit, whatever it is added back to the fixed deposit. Physically that not received. Due to non-receipt of income, if that application of 85% cannot be there, in the case of a 12A organization, you can apply in form number 9A. We can say that income is only accrued, it is only accounted in the books of accounts, it is not physically received due to physical non-receipt of income that cannot be applied for this 85% purposes. You can apply in form number 9A. This is not possible in the case of 1023 organization. This is not possible in the case of 1023 organization. Another point is the corpus donations. Corpus donations, once you received, it is part of the corpus one. Let us say in a year, you out of your total application, of the corpus, you have spent altogether 25 lakhs, your receipt is only 20 lakhs. Now the question is, maybe next year, whether the overspent amount can be adjusted, can be deferred to next year. It can be deferred to next year, but wait a minute, can be deferred to next year. Next year, you can take the benefit, but you will have to replenish, you will have to return that corpus one. You will have to replenish that corpus one. This year, by taking from the corpus fund, you spend 25 lakhs. Whether that can be deferred to next year, whether in the next year, or whether that can be taken as application of money under the 85% criteria, 85%, 15% money spent. It can be taken, but subject to the condition that next year, from your general fund, you return that corpus fund. To the extent of the amount returned to the corpus fund, it will be treated as application fee next year. Any more questions?
Regular fund the corpus replenish ಮಾಡಕಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಹೊಸ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಬೈ ಮಾಹಿತಿ.
Tell me, sir, any more questions?
I think members, if you have any further questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we can go for the winding up.
One more point I will explain to you.
Yes, sir.
We have a section called section 56 subsection 2 subclause 10 under the Income Tax Act. If I tell you actually what it is, now you will understand. 56(2)(10) what it says is, if you are receiving some amount, let us say something which is without consideration, you are receiving something without consideration, to the extent of without consideration, it will be treated as your income from other sources.
Yes.
Or we call it as a deemed gift, is it not? Maybe you are receiving a property without paying consideration. If the without paying consideration, that amount, if that part exceeds 50,000 rupees, it will be added to your income. So you constituted an organization, some charitable organization, some trust or society you constituted, you incorporated some 3 years back. Now only you are going for the registration under section 12A. Now the question is, will we get the exemption retrospectively? There is no retrospective exemption. That's fine. Now the second point it is, it will be covered under 56(2)(10). If you have received any amount, gross amount will be taxable. Gross amount will be taxable. Even if you have incurred expenditure out of that, even if you have conducted some charitable activity, now retrospectively you will not get. You will get registration only effective from the year in which you put up the application. If you are
Hello.
more questions, sir?
Yes, sir. Anything further?
Well, sir, in such a case, whether the department will go back to the years?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You will be issued with 148 notice.
But I think there is a section, sir. The department cannot go back and reopen the assessment.
This
I have also same feeling.
Sir, this particular provision, it has come from 1st April 2017. Before 1st April 17, what you thought about or what you are talking about could be correct. But after 1st April 2017, this is what the situation it is.
But there is a general feeling that the department will not go back. If you are voluntarily come for registration.
Department will go back if you have received money, otherwise it's fine. If you have received money, donations, if you have received, but if you have only spending, then it is fine. But if you have received money, then that gross amount is taxable. Better don't receive money till you get this exemption registration. If you are doing somebody, they have taken registration, but they failed to go for the registration, then it is fine. But there should not be any receipts.
Is there anything further?
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
Sir, Joy sir, thank you very much for the very elaborative and detailed discussion on the new registration procedures and also the compliance requirements of the charitable institutions under the Income Tax Act. Sir, thank you very much for all your support, and you covered everything, sir. Very detailed. All the forms available, you covered everything very detailed, and also answered all the questions that the members asked. Thank you very much for your presentation here. Thank you, sir.
So I spent a good time with the members, and I hope that you also had a good time with me. This I do understand that you are yet to log into form number 10A. That's why you don't have questions. You are only yet to try.
Maybe, sir.
Now,
Maybe.
once you are actually trying, I am talking at Alapi branch. 12th I am talking at some network issue. No, I got disconnected in between somehow. But otherwise, thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, this platform. And once the corona is settled, I will come and meet you, personally, to the extent possible. Till that, no, you will have to be confined, restricted. So stay safe, stay healthy. I would like to see you, all of you, in person later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joy sir, and we all wish you all the very best for your all future endeavors. Now I request the Secretary of the branch, Shivaprasad sir, to kindly propose the formal vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Presiding officer and chairman of Kannur branch, C.A. Reggie, very illustrious learner speaker and renowned chartered accountant, P.T. Joy, and my dear colleagues in the profession. We consider today's presentation is very valuable to all of us, and this type of seminar will definitely help us in carrying out our professional services in a better way. We are fortunate of having C.A. P.T. Joy as our faculty for today's seminar, and he led the discussion outstandingly well. We are extremely grateful to the Chartered Accountant P.T. Joy for being with us, spending his valuable time, sharing his valuable knowledge, and for his marvelous presentation on this topic. Thank you very much, sir. We look ahead your continued support, association with our Kannur branch, and your continued support in our future programs. At the same time, we wish all the success and the very best. We owe thanks to the chairman of Kannur branch, C.A. P.J. Reggie, for presiding over the seminar and for taking initiative in organizing such a beneficial and excellent seminar. We are very much thankful to all the participants, members, and for your support, motivation, and for your gracious presence in the seminar. Friends, it is our responsibility to take our profession forward. At the same time, being healthy is more important. So stay safe and be happy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.